Coming up on Man Enough. We have controlled humanity, so we have to progress. We have to open up our eyes. We have to be better. And I think men are starting to do that because of the many opportunities that there are for conversations of how we can open our eyes.
The best room is not a room full of women. It's a room full of everybody.
That's right. We need our sons. I need my son and my daughter, other sons and daughters, to make an assessment that's born out of truth and not just false imitation, just because my parents thought it, just because someone else said it.
Being man enough, what does that mean?
It's really manly to mess up, admit you're wrong, and then grow.
I couldn't accept that I was evil, so maybe I'm broken, but those broken things could be corrected.
Intimacy between a father and a son is me just wanting to put my head in your lap.
I love you, son.
You haven't called me benevolent sexist, but my experience is women are better.
Even if it's a positive, it's still not equality.
I don't blame men for that. I just blame the system.
This
Is
Man Enough.
Hey everybody, this is the Man Enough podcast, Liz.
Hi.
You are doing incredible things, even though we haven't been doing as many the last little bit because we're all busy. You're still out doing,
I'm doing it. You're doing it.
every time I turn on something, there you are talking about something fantastic and making the world better.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet.
So this is the Man Enough podcast. For those who don't know what we do, we have conversations about humanity, about how we can be better humans. And specifically, because it's called Man Enough, how do we redefine what that term even means? How can men be accountable, be celebrated, acknowledge our innate abilities and also some of the abilities that we learn that need to be unlearned, and how we can be better for women, for ourselves, for our spouses, for our work environment, for our boys.
Yeah.
So we try to have authentic conversations, and we're going to do one today.
We
What
will.
are we getting into?
I mean, we try not to talk about politics with a capital P. You know, obviously there are things that are politicized in our culture that end up becoming, that shouldn't be politicized, that we talk about, freedom to choose and women's rights and LGBTQ rights. But it's been hard to ignore what's been going on in terms of politics in this country. I think we've seen the biggest shift in vibes changing, like a timeline change. I don't think we've seen a timeline change this quick, not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
With, the president of the United States deciding to step down and not seek re-election for a second term, and then endorsing a Black woman who is his vice president, Kamala Harris, to take his place and run on the Democratic ticket.
Well, I appreciate that you mentioned that, we don't politically have conversations.
Yeah.
I know that you're more in the world of navigating that.
Yeah.
Me, myself, Justin included, try everything we can to stay away from any partisan politics. While I have my own personal opinions about who and where I may vote, how do we bring the world together and recognize the humanity of ourselves and keep politics out, or at least that you're different. I'm Democrat, you're Republican, I vote for him, you vote for her, you vote for such, you're white, I'm black, you're this, you're Libra, I'm Virgo, whatever it may be. There's all these things that separate us. And yet there's real issues that come about.
Yeah.
So the issues themselves, I'm always interested in talking about. And it's a dance to have how we do that. But what you just mentioned, what's going on in the world, for sure. So the truth is, regardless of where you stand on the aisle, out in the world, the president of the United States has stepped down. And now we have a woman, which we've experienced before in Hillary Clinton when she was running. But the process of that, but not just that, now it's a Black woman. And we experienced someone Black because it was Barack Obama. But now it's the two represented groups that have not been championed throughout history.
Actively suppressed. Yeah. It's.
And let me also say, by the way, she's of Indian descent as well. Of course, I never mean to dismiss that. But of course, we're in a country where we know that the racism has been targeted against Black women. So I say that in that regard. But I'm celebrating certainly that she's Indian as well. So it's incredible to see what's coming from it and how people are responding, right? And how men are responding, how white men are responding, how what are you seeing? I've been out of the political world or like the news circuit because of life and kids and work, but I certainly see how it's affecting just our hearts. What do you think about all that?
I think it's good that we don't, talk about particular candidates or political races because, most people are living their lives and it's a lot to keep up with. And it's complicated and it's, kind of on purpose. And so, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to talk about issues that we, talk about on the show.
Like what?
I mean, first of all, I think there's a real amazing shift. Obviously, it's a huge moment for women, for just women of color being our leaders and us following them and supporting them. And, so within hours of Kamala Harris being endorsed by Joe Biden, 40,000 Black women got on a Zoom and raised over $1 million for her. They were politically organized before, and that goes to the power of Black women just in our society, constantly doing the grassroots organizing. And then that was followed by, a lot of white women being like, okay, we got to step up. Black women shouldn't be the ones that are doing all of this work. And so Shannon Watts and a few other white women, actually Glennon Doyle, who's a friend of our pod, one of our first guests actually, organized and then set up a Zoom link, and 200,000 white women showed up. It broke Zoom. Right? And then followed by White Dudes for Harris. They also got together on a Zoom, and 190,000 of them showed up and raised $4 million. I mean, that's just astounding, right? And Black men also raised over $1 million. And Van Jones was like, the word you kept hearing was protect. Like, we have to protect her. We need to protect. And I think that, I don't know, like when we had a woman running for president now almost 10 years ago, which feels wild, I don't know if men necessarily felt that way towards her. I mean, I don't think we heard that kind of language. And I'm curious how you feel just about where men are at right now, and sort of seeing, this like protect and provide sort of masculine kind of instinct, if you want to call it that, sort of coming out in a really positive way. Because look, like white dudes, like we're not used to seeing white dudes or white men in a headline that's positive, right? White men getting together and doing something.
Right. We're not used to seeing white men portrayed as being positive.
Yes, I think when you see white man like in a headline, right? When those words are used in a headline or by a person, it's usually not. It's become
the term,
a negative
not
thing.
that white men are not celebrated and not seen as wonderful and celebrated all the time, but when the term itself is used,
usually
it's typically to point out something
bad. When the news of that Zoom came through to me, I was like, like spotlight white men who are doing amazing things. I don't know. There's something very special happening right now. But I'm curious how you feel.
What I know is that men, as we talk about on this show, we want to continue. We have controlled humanity. So we have to progress. We have to open up our eyes. We have to be better. And I think men are starting to do that not because of our show, because of the many opportunities that there are for conversations of how we can open our eyes. Now it's amazing to see some of the fruit of that, because now you have a woman. I do not want her to be elected because she's a Black woman. Do not want her to be elected because she's a woman. Because I think I want her to be elected if in fact you feel like she should be, because on the merit of her work, because what she stands for throughout her career and the capacity that she clearly has. And then here's an added bonus. She's a woman. A woman who has a perspective that we've never seen at that level in the United States. We have a country that's continuously divided, all kinds of problems we're trying to work through. And have we thought for a minute that the voice and perspective of a woman brings so much value that we've oftentimes shut down throughout history, and now we're stupidly saying it, forced to see the value of women and what they bring to business meetings, what they bring to art, what they bring to life, what they bring to politics. And then she's Black. We've not had a Black person, Barack, and we saw the differences of what he was able to do, that no one had his lenses. So now you have a Black woman with new lenses, and we want it changed and we want difference. So why not recognize these things as positives, as pluses, as a perspective and lens that we've never had, along with her capacity, her brilliance. And I think what we're seeing is men, these ones that you're referring to, are the fruit of all the labor that you have been doing. Yeah. The fruit of the labor of so many people who are saying, don't ignore us. We have incredible things to say. Get your foot off my neck. And that's what makes me feel proud when I see men of this nature raising money for something 10 years ago they would have not.
Yeah.
100 years ago, they would have been in jail for raising money for a black campaign for something like what are you doing, or shot and killed.
Sure.
So the fact that we're seeing that is super inspiring. I'm not fooled by it. I don't think that's the majority of America, in my perspective. I think there's a lot of platitudes.
Yeah.
But
well, no, I mean, yeah, I'm a optimistic white girl, that's like fucking wants to believe, and again, I think particularly the white women Zoom, there was a lot of a lot of amazing black women on TikTok posting like, I went and because I wanted to keep an eye on those women and I want to see what they were but actually a lot of black women saying, they said all the right things and it wasn't just platitudes. It wasn't, we're so amazing. It was like, hey, we fucked up and we've been fucking up for a while and we want to be better and we want to do better and stand in solidarity. Like, I think the difference to me that I'm seeing is like, it's not, obviously it's about the candidate that they're excited about, but it's about these movements. I mean, we've spent the last 15 minutes not talking about a politician, but talking about people. Yeah, right. Right? The people who are organizing and galvanizing and volunteering and, and there's a bunch of data about that, just the amount of young people who registered to vote, the amount of people who donated to a campaign for the very first time, it was more than half. So these are new people who are, I mean, that's what gets me really excited. Like I literally have like goosebumps, like civic engagement being cool and people being excited about being part of the world and part of this country and part of their community and getting, just connecting, right? I think for a while we were like drifting apart. And I think like, I'm curious what you think, but
I'm curious what you think.
I think that's the name of our spin-off show. I'm curious what you think. I'm curious what you think about. I think a lot of men are sick of a very narrow minority of influential voices speaking on behalf of men, right? Like we've seen all kinds of really offensive language, saying that she's a DEI hire, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have to give it to them. They're really efficient. They found one word that allows them to be both racist and sexist.
Who is saying that?
Honey.
I mean, many people. I know. But when you're referencing that, is it like politically people are saying?
There are right-wing politicians saying this. Again, I can give you names, but we're not. That's not what we do here. But yeah, I mean, it's coming.
So politicians.
It's coming. No, but it's in the media, and again, mostly right-wing, who again are trying to have attacks, against her, but are just sinking to a whole new low. Megyn Kelly said that she slept her way to the top, saying that like she's lazy. Donald Trump said she has a low IQ, right? These are very like racially and misogyny coded, sort of insults. And the whole childless cat ladies, Trump's VP going off and saying that, women who don't have children have less value when every president we've ever had didn't give birth to children and no one questioned their value or contribution in the world, right? It's just so old school, I think is so retrograde. And my sense is like all of these men, no matter what their race or, gender identity or whatever is, are just so sick of these people speaking on behalf of their gender.
Do you think the people that are sick of it, again, I don't want to pit one group. There's many listeners that might be on either side of the aisle, and God bless you. But the people that are sick of it, do you think are the ones on the left, the ones that would be voting and the ones that are being vocal about that, compared to the supporters of another side? Do you think they're sick of it?
I think I would think that a lot of people are sick of it on both sides. And again, I went to a Trump rally in Arizona a month and a half ago to talk to men at that rally, and I couldn't find a single guy that was not pro-choice. Actually.
Yeah, right.
Like, it was really fascinating, and a lot of them were like, I like him, but I really don't like his language around women. I don't, they're
But
very.
yet polls show that many people are not pro-choice, right? So even though you couldn't find them, there's.
I mean, there's been an increase in the last 2 years since Roe was overturned. There's been it's an unprecedented number of now people who are, I think,
impact of
yes,
that.
and saying, "Wow, I didn't know what this meant." I mean, we've had that conversation on the podcast, right? I think a lot of people realized that maybe they were pro-choice, but had been sort of told something different and didn't necessarily understand the implications of what it means and what abortion is, right? And, and that, again, as Giacomo said when he came on our show, they wanted a child and they needed to get an abortion because of a miscarriage twice. So things are, there's like an uncovering happening, right? Like, things are coming to light and the truth is coming to light. And I think a lot of people are sort of jilted, into action as a result of that. And I just think it's great.
What I love, so Kamala is my sister. She looks like my sisters.
Yeah.
I got 3 sisters that are brilliant women that have done so much for their communities, for the world. They've traveled and done, gotten their hands dirty, do the work, and brilliant minds. So I see Kamala and I'm like, oh, that's my sister. And the fact that when you tell me the things that are being said to her, about her, I'm talking about her as a human. I'm not talking about politically here. I actually, as controversial as this may be, the things that you just said that she's being, darts are being thrown at her, she slept her way to the top. All right, well, that's not true. She's a woman. Okay. You've been using that one forever, people. Okay. What else is there? She's a DEI hire. Okay, sure. You've been using that one forever. These are things that have.
I mean, can I just say, if getting a job only because of your gender and not because of your qualifications, then Donald Trump was the first DEI hire. I mean, it's just there's no greater DEI hire.
Well, what I was going to say about all this was, if someone said that about my sister, I'd be like, oh, great. We can throw those off. If they talked about her actual and looked at her test scores and said she's not as smart as we think, she doesn't know about this, she has no experience, all of these things that at least could be argued to be true or not, that could bother me. Because now you're questioning an actual ability of hers. But now you're just picking things out of the sky and saying, all right, but whereas on another side, if someone is judging a Trump or another person and they have something to speak to it, not just because you're talking about that he's got orange hair, that's stupid. Anyone who says like he's not good enough because he has orange hair, all right, whatever. People just are looking for things. But if you're talking about actually the merit of his work, now you have an argument. I got to defend against that or if I'm on that side. So these things that are being said about Kamala, I'm like, I think if I'm her, I'm like, I can live with those. You think I'm a woman?
You think I'm a woman?
I am a woman. Think I'm black? Okay, I am. You think it's a DI hire? Okay, great. You think I slept my way to the top? Okay, great. Bring something to the table that we're actually having a real conversation about the merit of my work, my capacity. That could throw me, but these things don't. And I think people know it. They're just empty darts. They hurt. I know they hurt women. I know they hurt people of color, but they're still stupid, empty darts that have no real substance to them.
Right.
So that's exciting. That those are the things that someone who's running, I would say to people, if those are the things that they're saying about them,
that's because they got nothing.
That's because they got nothing. So now look at her capacity and decide if you vote for her or not, because I'm sure you can get over the fact that her skin is a little darker than yours.
Right.
That has nothing to do with whether or not she makes a good deal with another country regarding trade or whatever it may be. So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
There's no real dirt.
I mean, the first insult was that she laughs too much. And
don't we hear that a lot? Men think women laugh too much, and then we judge you because it's the way you laugh, and then think you're not as smart or or whatever.
Yes,
it is.
that laughing, too hard or is like an unruly, sort of behavior that, again, throughout history has been something like a way to sort of repress women. under Taliban rule, women aren't allowed to laugh in public. The Turkish deputy prime minister a few years ago counseled women not to laugh in public because it signaled, quote, moral corruption. And so Turkish women responded on social media by posting images of themselves defiantly laughing, obviously. But
Laughing.
Yes, laughing. But there's something, okay, so your insult is that she's happy. She's like a happy woman. Like women aren't supposed to be happy. I think, the attacks kind of speak for themselves. And it's disheartening.
We look for all reasons
Yes.
to keep people down,
Yeah.
to oppress and to not let women. I don't even like saying the word "let" like it's like it's mine to even give, but to not champion women being in your full glory. And now I got to add, she laughs too much. Dismiss her because she laughs.
Yeah.
Dismiss her because the very thing that you teach your kid about experiencing joy and to laugh. And when they're sad, you try to get them out of it. Laugh, find your joy. And now a woman is actually expressing that and still brilliant. And then we try to belittle her because of that.
Yeah.
Again, I can live with those.
Yeah. No, that's a
I'm
good
sure
point.
Kamala's going to sleep like, okay. They keep throwing things at me like I laugh too much.
Right.
Okay. I just ask humanity and those of us that when we have women in our lives, so that we don't perpetuate this idea that when the very thing that we want to see more of humanity, women express, to hold it against them as a way to control them.
Yeah.
How stupid.
Yeah. And it's a way to kind of tap into, I think, primitive parts of our brain, right? Like those where unconscious bias really kind of resides. I think it's not working. But yeah, those are all very, just like your run of the mill sort of like ways of basically reminding people that, oh, she's a woman. She can't be trusted or,
She can't be trusted. And yet, isn't it amazing how we do this?
Yeah.
Do people really think that women can't be trusted?
Oh my God, come on.
I know they do.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
more than men, like if you have a woman over here and a man over here and I have to trust someone, I mean morally. I mean morally.
What do you mean?
Like you got a random woman out of the sea of everybody. You got a random man out of the sea of somebody and you need some guidance. And who's going to be the most selfless and possibly think of giving me advice that I can trust, that doesn't have an agenda as much as the other? I'm going with the woman's side every time. Doesn't mean that men aren't wonderful and good.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are the people that we're not trusting.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole like projection thing. I think sexism is an entire, it's a whole,
it's a real thing.
It's a projection,
It is.
right? We call women weak because they're actually extremely strong, right? We try and curb their, the power that they have over their bodies because they have immense power. They have the power to propagate the species or to stop it. And so, same goes with everything that we're talking about of just trusting. I think we depict women as untrustworthy because they are trustworthy.
Because they are.
Yeah.
I hope so badly that this next election, regardless of where you vote, that you can look at whoever our candidates are. Looks like it's going to be these particular Trump and Kamala Harris.
Just like
Trump and Harris, not first name, Donald and Kamala. Kamala and Donald or Trump and Harris, correct? You just say, you know what it is? I think you say the names that,
of course,
that's
what people are.
Yeah.
I think that's even like a little difference I've noticed from 10 years ago.
And by the way, Harris, if you just say Harris, it can mean 20 different people. Kamala means one person. Like it's an iconic name now. Like
yes.
Trump, you could say Donald, but it could be Donald Spring.
Yes, but
Donald
we
Duck.
do tend to refer. We wouldn't refer to a male politician by the first name. It's much rarer, and we do it a lot with women. That's kind of the correction.
I would argue that. But that's another show. I wonder, Liz, does that us taking... I mean, I want to curb my thoughts. I do think that we...
And we do it too, by the way. I do it. I've had to catch... I think women do it too.
I hear you, but also I'm mindful of when we fight for justice, sometimes in that fight, I can attribute certain things and take certain things and attribute it to racism, when in fact... it may not be. And I feel sometimes it can oversaturate and bring about fatigue. So I wonder, is that the case? Because I refer to a lot of, like NBA players, some people call them by their last names, some people call them by the first names, depending upon what their names are. Kobe, no one says Bryant. It's Kobe, first name.
Sure.
Right? LeBron, you say by his first name. But Michael Jordan, we say Jordan. Some are first, some are last. It just depends on what the name and the ring that it has in the world. Kamala has a ringing name.
We do tend to do that more with women, though. I'll just put.
I will not argue that with you.
Yeah.
I think we also do it with men, and I just would hate for that to now be when someone is using her name Kamala. It's like, okay, now I'm being sexist in that, or I'm not that.
No.
And so, do we have to make that an issue and highlight a spotlight on that? I appreciate why you would, but
honestly, it's for my own conditioning. Like it's I see it the same way that I used to refer to women as like a lot of people do, girl, like, oh, that girl. And I was like, she's a woman. I'm going to start saying that woman, right? Like it's almost like correcting my own sort of bias. And I think that particularly in this case of like, she is running for president, like the most important job in the world. I think referring to her by her first name is like sort of contributing to some of these unconscious biases.
But she's got a dope-ass first name, though. Nobody has the name Kamala. Not nobody. Few people.
But
Isn't
why
it
did
also
you say Hillary? Hillary's not that it's not unusual and special.
I don't know if I did or not.
Well, a lot of people refer to her as Hillary too.
Fair enough.
It's just
but I love her first name.
Yes.
In fact, I think it highlights her diversity and that she's not a Cindy or a Tracy or a James or a whatever it may be. So I think there's power in that also.
Mm-hmm. I see that.
I also feel as a black person, when I say that name, it's different than saying Harris.
Yeah.
Harris is a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's not Kamala.
Yeah.
It's also her. So I think it comes from that spirit.
Yeah.
But we went off on a tangent. What I hope is that when Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, the two of them, are in their debates.
If they debate, because he doesn't want to debate her, but anyway.
If they do or whatever, and whatever side you are on, that you can for a moment put aside the fact of your biases, your prejudices, mine as well, mine for him, for whatever it may be, and then consider like, let me just look at her for what she is and what she has to say. And then look at these things that oftentimes are challenging for me, that she's a woman and that she's black, and see, do they benefit? Can they also help? Is this also what contributes to why she's so wonderful as well, that she is a woman? I think that you might find yourself coming to a different conclusion. And the same for him. You know, there's a lot of stuff about him that's like pointless to say about him because he's, I don't know, whatever it is. I hope that can happen.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing it. I think what you spoke to about the fact that you saw all these white men and these white women that were oftentimes would have not raised so much money and spoke and are now free and safe to champion and stand for her. Not because she's black, not because she's a woman, because she's got the credentials and she's got these amazing things. Yeah. Anyways, I hope that's what happens, whoever you vote for. Yeah. And that we don't laugh at them when they laugh. I'm sorry you deal with that. You have to walk into a meeting and think about how you're going to laugh because we're going to take you seriously or judge you or trust you with my business.
And then if you don't laugh enough, if you don't smile, right? It's this.
Now some people's got some crazy laughs though.
Sure.
Guys too. I mean, there's some right.
Sure.
So maybe for me sometimes, like if you come in and you sound like Donald Duck, I'm gonna be like,
yeah, for sure. But that's
I don't know if I want to give you my money, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
But women receive that more.
Yeah. But I think again, she laughs too much or she doesn't smile enough. You know, it's like.
Or she doesn't smile enough?
Well, that's what has been said of a lot of women who have tried to run for president. You know, that was said of Hillary Clinton, right? That she's not jovial and light and smiling enough, and her voice is nagging, and right, like it's what's often expected of female leaders is just be a woman, but don't or act like a man, but don't act too much like a man. And if you act, lean more into your womanhood, whatever the fuck that means, you're seen as not as effective. And if you do take on these more masculine qualities, then you're a bitch.
And doesn't it, tell me if I'm going to get in trouble for saying this.
Great. Say it.
If you put an older white male as the leader of something, okay, great. He might have all the capacity in the world. Then you look at the team that's around him, generally older white male. So you're getting the same perspective with making every decision when people are consulting in the room. That's one option, even if he's the best of the two candidates, if you think that. Here's the other side. On this one, you're getting a diverse wealth of information in that boardroom. You're having a woman, someone of color. She's also got white men surrounding her. So for those of you who have a concern, those voices are still being said.
Yeah.
She might have other people that this other side may not have in terms of diversity. So if you were to look at the consultation of making decisions, having a woman who's of color in a leadership role like this that has power and still has all the people that other people would like to have a seat at the table, you're getting the best of all worlds.
Yeah, 100%.
You're getting them all. Yeah. You're not really losing anything. You still got all these powerful, white, wonderful men with her as well if you're worried about that.
Yeah.
On this other side, do you feel like there's full representation and consultation to come up with a decision that's beneficial for all of America and then therefore all of humanity? For me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And just to add to what you're saying, because I've been thinking about this a lot, having watched, the convention on the Republican side and just the ticket and just their messaging in general. Donald Trump came out to "It's a Man's World." They chose that song for him to come out to. They had Hulk Hogan tearing his shirt, and then have Dana White, the head of pro wrestling, right? Like this very hyper masculine version, right, of not just America, but I think of manhood and what a man is and does. And I think we have a different offering. And the different offering, by the way, is not women and extreme womanhood or whatever, right? It's not like her coming out to Aretha Franklin either,
Right,
truly, right?
exactly.
It's her with a coalition of people. It's women and men together. And I think that's always been my wish for us as a society and for our conversation on this show, which is like, it's not men versus women, and a lot of people will try and convince you that's the
And it's not.
that's the way that it is. And if you give a lot to women, that means you're taking away from men. They're taking away something from you. And I've always thought, no, the other option is men plus women equals, even like infinity, right? That when we work together and we collaborate and we love each other and we unite and we connect, then the world is our oyster. Like then we all get more freedom. We all get more possibility. We all get more liberty and all of the beautiful things that we want in life. And it's a lot more fun. It's just a lot more fun when we get along. You know what I mean? Like the best room is not a room full of women. It's a room full of everybody.
That's right. I love that you say that. We need to continue these conversations. We need our sons. I need my son and my daughter, other sons and daughters, to learn how to see with their own eyes, hear with their own ears, to make an assessment that's born out of truth and not just false imitation, just because my parents thought it, just because someone else said it. It's like really dive in yourself. And I feel like men, back to our show, Man Enough, that the more that we do that and take a good look at ourselves, look at who's in front of us, look at the capacity of people, look at the beauty of people, look at some of the faults maybe if it has to do with a particular job, but do it with our own eyes and not get caught up in the mob. We become better and better and better. And I think men are in fact doing it more and more. Our egos are coming down a little bit more. We're seeing more men in therapy than there was 20 years ago, 30 years, 40 years ago. If you're in conversing with people, you get to address certain things about yourself. We grow, we become better. I think we're seeing some of that. Yeah. And I'm going to trust that we are going to continue to do that because you're in the world, Liz, and you are committed to doing it. Are we wrapping up? I think this was.
Yes.
I think this was great.
This was great.
This was a non-political political conversation.
Yeah, for a guy who doesn't follow politics, you know a lot. You know a lot about it.
All right, with that, close us out. How do we close? Do you remember how we close out?
Oh gosh, if you like what you heard, you can follow our podcast on
Where?
any platform, anywhere you listen to your
What's
your
our website?
podcast. manenough.com/podcast.
There you go.
And you can watch us on YouTube and see our beautiful faces. Social media.
We're on all the platforms.
All the platforms.
That's right.
Instagram, obviously. We love you on Instagram and YouTube. I gotta say, like when I go through a hard day, I'll just go on Man Enough's Instagram community and read your comments, and I just feel better about the world.
I know we love a community that
Which is rare. You don't really go to the comments to feel
No.
better about the world, but Man Enough community.
It's got some
you
good
make us
comments
feel
there.
better. Yeah.
Anyways, it's great to see you, Liz.
Great to see you too.
And we'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Jamey Heath.
I'm Liz Plank.
And this is
Man Enough.